This week on Arizona Illustrated, an inspiring retrospective over 70 years in the making. The art, science, and community of bread. Young people mastering mariachi, and the first of our favorite places. Welcome to Arizona Illustrated. I'm Tom McNamara. Longtime Tucsonan Robert Barber is a veteran of World War II, and he taught sixth graders in TUSD for over 30 years. This sounds like a life well lived, and indeed it is. But when two curators from Tucson's Museum of Contemporary Art swung open the door to Barber's Garage in 2013, they revealed that there was a whole lot more to Mr. Barber.
I think we live in a world where it seems like, for many reasons, that everything is exposed. And so I think there's an extra pleasure when it turns out like not everything is known at all.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this very, very special occasion. It has been such an extraordinary privilege for our institution to get to know Robert Barber and his work. And truly,
my formula for living so long is to ride a bicycle. I ride a bicycle every morning before I do anything else. I have favorite, what do you call those, dumpsters that I dig in. Here's a glove that's kind of interesting. Oh, this stuff. So I see something that looks like an interesting shape. That's where it starts, regardless of what it is. My name is Robert Barber. I'm 92 and a half years old, and I'm an artist.
there were these two small yellow paintings, and I kind of ran over and looked at them because they just, the quality of the paint surface, and I'm looking carefully and I'm thinking, this is great, this painting's fantastic, and this person really knows how to paint. I'm like, well, how do we not know who this is? And I look and it says Tucson. I'm like, this person is in Tucson. Who are they? We have to find them. And then I look at the date that he was born, and I'm doing the math, and I'm thinking, he's 90, he's 91 years old. And I turn around to call for Jocko, and at the same moment that I had stopped in my tracks, Jocko also stopped in his tracks and, noticed the same thing.
I've had several shows in Minneapolis back around in the 50s. That's when I was getting my bachelor and master's degree in painting at the University of Minnesota.
So you were actively getting your work out there and it was being seen.
Right, but it would go out and then come back. So when Anne Marie and Jocko came over, I said, fortunately, I've never sold anything, so you have plenty of stuff to look at. Some more car parts. They're all mixed up. They're not organized. Tools, more tools. Then I had a relapse and then did some more letters. I did a whole series of letters.
On one studio visit, I was out trimming trees because we had to bring the works out into the yard, into the light, just to see what we were looking at. So there was a lot of sort of archaeology and teasing out. And
It was like an archaeological dig.
a lot of it was sort of tightly packed in a small studio. So, I think we left overwhelmed.
Many people wonder how you were able to do so much art. Like, you had a full-time job and a family.
I work fast.
That was a good answer. Like when you were teaching, were you drawing like at the desk in the class?
No, I had the kids doing the drawing. I never stopped doing artwork of one kind or another, and then I married a girl I met in art school, and she was the same way. We both, all of our married lives, kept doing our artwork. And she was just as prolific as I was, and had more commercial success than I did, but we were never jealous of each other's art. We were our biggest fans. I thought of her as being Toussaint's Matisse, and she thought I was Toussaint's Picasso. It's difficult for me to talk about my wife, but if it wasn't for her, half the things that I did would have disappeared. She always managed to gather up these things and wrap them and label them and store them away. We're just discovering them now.
The entire body of work is largely intact. It's an unprecedented situation to be able to sort of art historically look at the whole thing and start to tell some stories, because usually an artist will have a career and they'll sell work and their show work and their work will be distributed. He's still making work every single day, and it's like a perfectly intact trove of an entire lifetime of art productions. We were just speechless and a little breathless, frankly. And we immediately, as soon as we left, we knew we were going to offer him a retrospective and hope that he said yes, and he did. Being rejected again and again and again. I had no expectations of even exhibiting someplace.
The retrospective is a tiny fraction of Robert's work. I would put it at 1% or less.
He's a phenomenal painter. He was trained properly at a moment in time in art school where you really learned sort of old master techniques and you learned how to build up the surface of a canvas. On the abstract works back here, these aren't single applications of a layer of paint on canvas. There are probably 100 paintings living underneath the surface of that painting. And when you take a cross-section of a painting, you realize just how complex. These are not flat surfaces. They're really well built up. Unbelievable. I'd never seen my artwork in an environment like that.
His art is great, but it's almost just as much about how he went about, like, he figured out a way to make a living, he raised a family, and that didn't stop him from this pursuit. And it sounds like a cliche, but it was like he was doing it for the right reasons. And I think that's incredibly meaningful. He's a living embodiment of it, kind of meshing of art and life.
You start out to paint a masterpiece. I don't know of anyone who wakes up in the morning and says, oh, I guess I'll paint a ho-hum average piece of art today. But of course you never attain the goal you set out. I wish my wife was here to enjoy it with me. I think of her every day and talk to her every day. She would say it's about time he gets the recognition he deserves. I think that's what she'd say. No, never give it up forever. I still think about the one I'm going to do tomorrow.
Robert Barber, a retrospective, continues through May 31st at the Museum of Contemporary Art in downtown Tucson. For one local baker, bread isn't just the staff of life, it's the basis for a community. Don Guerra sees his loaves as art, science, and a chance to connect people through food.
Long before the sun rises, this garage comes to life. The oven clicks on, flour flies, and one baker gets to work.
Bakers, they all share a certain spirit. They're very nurturing people, they're very patient people, because they know bread is not always so predictable. Really, baking is kind of a mystery. I mean, you can be really good at what you do, but I don't think anyone says that they're fully in control of their process. You know, we want to just nurture the bread along, and hopefully we get to where we want to be in the end. But the whole thing is, we're just hoping it works out. It's just a daily science experiment.
As the baker behind Tucson's Barrio Bread, Don Guerra does a lot of experimenting. It's 4 a.m. and he'll make almost 200 loaves of bread by midday. As he bakes the breads he shaped the night before, he's also mixing new dough, measuring and shaping the next batch, and putting his mark on every last piece.
That's the baker's signature on the bread, and scoring it properly with a razor. And then that function is to get the bread to expand. I kind of know ahead of time the loaf I want to produce, so just like an artist will gather the paints and blend them, I do the same thing with my flours. The minute I mix these inert ingredients, flour, water, salt, with a form of leaven, in this case the levain, the wild yeast, it becomes alive. So I get these ingredients to dance.
Guerra mixes art and science in his approach to making bread. He starts by building a habitat for yeast and bacteria called a starter.
Basically, it's just a flour-water mixture, just taking flour and water, mixing it together, and within 48 hours you can see life. Wild yeast and bacteria jump in that flour-water mixture, take up residence, and then they start a fermentation cycle. Through fermentation, through the wild yeast consuming the starches that are in the flour, they have byproducts, and those are carbon dioxide and alcohol.
The carbon dioxide helps the bread rise, and the yeast and bacteria give it flavor. It's a process Guerra has been studying for 25 years.
Well, it started when I moved to Flagstaff. I was 20 years old. I moved up there after leaving Tucson, and just to try something new. I think it was my second day in Flagstaff, I met someone and they asked me if I needed a job. And I said, absolutely, I just got in town, I would love that. And he was a baker in a bakery, small little bread bakery. And he asked me if I wanted to work the night crew. I went in, I volunteered one night and just fell in love with it.
Guerra quickly worked his way up to running his own bakeries, but quit when his workload began to take a toll on him and his family. He reinvented himself as a teacher and taught physical education in the Tucson Unified School District for almost a decade before the bread pulled him back.
I just knew I needed to get back to it. And once I did, it just felt like home. I always feel that if there's that passion, if there's that drive, if there's excitement, enthusiasm, and you make a leap of faith and you take a calculated risk, that things will work out.
That leap of faith turned Guerra into what he calls a community-supported baker. He doesn't sell through restaurants or stores. People order his bread online and pick it up in person, or they simply walk up and say hello.
You got it. I want to have that personal touch with my business. I want to know them. I want to know who's eating my bread. And I want them to see me as more than just someone in the bakery making a product.
Guerra also wants to connect people. from the local farmers who supply him with wheat to bread bakers and enthusiasts all over the world.
With social media nowadays, I can connect with so many people around the world. There's other people out there as crazy as I am doing their thing, baking their bread.
All right, Jack, which kind of bread would you like today?
So this one right in front. You want to do it? All right.
Okay.
So I want everyone to enjoy good bread. I want everyone to participate in the whole process and to come together to celebrate. It's very rewarding for me when I can create community through bread. It's taken people from fragmented communities to really wanting to become part of a tribe and to belong and support something that's bigger than just one person. Have a great day.
You too.
Have a good week.
Okay, you too.
By sunset on most days, every loaf is gone, and Guerra begins his cycle anew.
I do love to try to get better and better and better with these little increments every single day. And that's a challenge for me. And that's where the beauty lies, though, is just having these successes, little successes every day and trying to improve your process. I want to look at it and see that all of the work I've invested from 24 hours previous has paid off in that final loaf. So it's really that dun 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 moment where I get to put it in the oven and it comes out. Some baguettes here, and you get to see your work. You get to see what you put into it, and hopefully that's a lot of love, a lot of care, and a lot of skill.
For 4 days this week, hundreds of students from all over the world will take part in mariachi and folklorico dancing workshops. There will be dinners, jam sessions, and performances by some of the world's most renowned musicians. La Frontera Tucson International Mariachi Conference has become recognized worldwide as the leading proponent of the mariachi tradition. Also recognized internationally, Pueblo Magnet High School's Mariachi Aztlán.
Today is an annual luncheon that the home ec class puts on, kind of as a fundraiser. Teachers buy a plate and they get to be serenaded by the mariachis, by Mariachi Aztlán de Pueblo High School.
It's a nice way to get them to see what we do outside of their classes. I think they get a better sense of, oh, they're out performing like this. For a lot of people, that's really good for them, you know? For me, it's seeing the people's faces light up, or they smile when they see the mariachi come out, or when they see someone perform. That's what I like most about it. My name's Yasmin Durazo. I'm 16. I'm a sophomore, and I play in Mariachi Aztlán de Pueblo High School. This mariachi program is a class, so almost every day pretty much. And then we also do 2 hours after school on Mondays and Thursdays. So it's a lot of practice time. That way we stay, you know, consistent.
Stop. When you guys start, you hear that? And it starts like, da-da, da-da, da-da. No, keep it nice and even. Much better. Bam, ba-dam, ba-dam, ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba, and then we get the tempo. Don't waste too much time trying to get the tempo, all right? The intro has to be there, okay? You have to like hit people in the face with this song. It's a large group, there's 17 of us. It's a family, they get along, they have their spats as well, just like any family, but they learn to come together and make something beautiful, which is, I think is the mariachi music is one of the most beautiful things. It's really neat because we have seniors, we have 17, 18-year-olds, and we have freshmen, 14, 15-year-olds, and then everything else in between. Perfect.
He's like our second father. We hang out with him 24/7. He takes care of us. He's like one of us too.
He's always there for us, not just teaching us in the group. He's there for us. Like if we're having a bad day, we can go and talk to him whenever we need something. He's just an amazing person.
You don't know, your mom's a president. Yeah, it's parent meeting.
I don't have any children of my own, but it's funny because anytime I talk to people, they're like, well, I kind of do have 17 children in a roundabout way. Like a proud father, for sure.
Hey, 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 ha, 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 ha. Pa, 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 pa. All right, so you're taking a breath when you should already be playing. You're like, pop, no. Pop, 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 it has to be right on the one.
2, 3, 4. Hey, 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 hey. Ha, 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 ha,
ha. I'm Jarrett Young. I'm a junior, and I play the guitarrón. It's the bass of the mariachi. Really nice sound. It's got good, hit to it. It's got a good thump, The role of it is just to keep the tempo, the time of the song, the feeling of it. That's how you really get into the music. Is the way it is played. It complements all the instruments, from the violins to the trumpets to the vihuela to the guitar, to help you feel the piece, the music. The first reason I joined was for my family, for my nana, and I just decided to join. I was like, maybe she'll like it, And then not only did she like it, I like doing it too. I really got into it,
It was really good. You put a nice bass part in there. I don't know what you did. You changed it up.
Hoping that I can probably get into another group after I graduate, because I really like playing. It's an excellent feeling.
I'm Gabriela Miranda. I'm a senior. I'm learning right now. I'm learning the guitarra de golpe. I played vihuela before, but that's the one I'm trying to learn right now. It's part of the rhythm section. Well, it's exactly pretty much like the guitar and the vihuela. We keep the rhythm together.
Okay, much better. You guys feel the difference?
I decided to join mariachi, and it's changed the way I think, because we perform everywhere. We perform in front of people, and when I came in, I was like, I'm not singing. I don't sing. I don't want to go in front of people. I can't do it. And one day he just came. He's like, here you go. You're singing this song. And I was like, well, I guess I'm not going to say no. But I was scared at first. But once we got used to it, you get more comfortable with it. And in class too, now I'm not as shy, but I still get nervous.
The number one thing too is responsibility. It's not just you. You're not just a superstar. You're not just the one. There's a whole group around you. It's kind of like the weakest link in the chain kind of thing. If somebody's not pulling their weight, then, well, you know what? The whole group takes it down. It's an ensemble. It's not, hey, it's not just one person.
Well, we're all connected, we're connecting together as a group, and we feel more close. So we're all excited, but we do get into the emotions of the song sometimes. You could feel the song because you're interpreting it to the other people.
And then there's times when you're just like, oh my gosh, this is magic. I tell them, if you have 17 people and each one of you guys is on part, and you guys are doing exactly what needs to be done, and you guys are grooving together, that is just a special moment. And you have to cherish those because they don't happen all the time.
It feels like we've all got this big connection. You get an adrenaline rush, and everyone's just on point. Everyone you know, everyone's nailing their parts, and it's a really good feeling. It's showing people like a whole different side of the Mexican culture that they normally wouldn't see. Like, you know, sometimes people think mariachis, they think, oh, just 3 fat guys kind of singing in a bar or whatever. They never think about like maybe someone like me or any of the other people we have in mariachi. They never picture someone like that. I love it. It's all I eat, breathe, sleep, which I think it's funny because I used to hate mariachi when I was little. I think it's kind of funny how that turned out.
Mariachi Aslan is performing at La Frontera Tucson International Mariachi Conference on April the 9th and 11th. And for more, visit TucsonMariachi.org. And now the first of our new limited series, Favorite Places. Just last February, a collection of essays written by members of the Southern Arizona chapter of the American Institute of Architects won a national award for raising public awareness about architecture. The series was published throughout 2014 in the Arizona Daily Star, and judges of the competition described the essays as, quote, outstanding. And so we've decided to bring those places to you through the voice of each author and the sights and sounds assembled by AZPM's Andrew Brown and Mark McLemore.
One of my favorite buildings, one that I find refreshing, doesn't even have a roof. Yet it provides a powerful sense of place for a wide variety of people throughout the year. I have been hiking and running the David Yetman Trail in the Tucson Mountains for decades, and have always been intrigued by the wonderful ruin of an old stone house along the route. Built in the early 1930s for a couple seeking a healthy reprieve from the Midwest, the house is set in a pristine desert valley amid cacti, Palo Verde trees, and the big blue sky of the Sonoran Desert. The residence was abandoned a dozen years later and allowed to assimilate back into nature. Stepping into this ruin is like walking into a Picasso painting. You see all the sides simultaneously as you take in the varied perspectives, sounds, and fragrances of the lush desert. Lying on your back on the cool concrete allows you to soak up the framed desert clouds rolling by. While the views from the windows were planned, the view above, through the absence of a roof, is impromptu and spectacular. The tracery of the interior walls that line the concrete floor provides clues as to how the rooms were once inhabited by people who shared their intimate lives together. And you can't help but imagine how you would have lived there too. Now this unexpected man-built structure in the middle of the vast natural desert is both a destination and a place to let your imagination run free. The celebrated architect Frank Gehry made a career based on designing buildings that have purposely looked unfinished. The stone house inadvertently takes the same approach, and in doing so leaves more to the imagination. The skeletal stone house allows visitors to dream and make their own reality. I believe great buildings should not only be functional and put a roof over one's head, but they should also improve the human experience and inspire our everyday lives. In the words of Winston Churchill, we shape our buildings, thereafter they shape us.
Thank you for joining us here on Arizona Illustrated. See you next week.